Hey guys, what's up? So today, I'll be talking about which iPhone models are actually worth buying now that it's 2026. So first of all, I'll talk about storage. I would recommend buying an iPhone with at least 256 gigabytes of storage, although 128 gigabytes might be okay if you're a light user or you're buying an iPhone that will not be a main device. However, you should absolutely stay away from anything with only 64 gigabytes, unless it's a very old model such as an iPhone 5, 5S, or 6. But if you're in the market for an iPhone 5, 5S, or 6, then this video is not for you. Now into iPhone models themselves. First off, if you're buying a new iPhone from Apple or your carrier, you absolutely should not buy the iPhone 16, 16 Plus, or 16e. These are horrible values at the moment, because for example, the iPhone 16 is $699 with 128 gigabytes, while the iPhone 17 is $799 with 256 gigabytes, and it comes with several upgrades over the iPhone 16. The 16e is $599 with 128 gigabytes, $699 with 256 gigabytes, or $899 with 512 gigabytes. Again, a horrible value, because an iPhone 17 is far superior at only $100 more than a 16e with equivalent storage. The 16 Plus is $799 with 128 gigabytes, or $899 with 256 gigabytes, which is a downright ripoff now. Out of iPhone models currently sold by Apple, the standard iPhone 17 is hands down the best value for your money right now. It starts at the same price as what the iPhone 16 started at last year, yet it's with 256 gigabytes instead of 128, and you get a 120Hz display, an all-new center stage front camera, and an upgraded ultra-wide camera. If you want the highest-end iPhone possible, check out the 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. These cost quite a bit more than the normal 17, but you get additional Pro features, such as a telephoto camera, LiDAR scanner, Thunderbolt transfer speeds via USB-C, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and an all-new vapor chamber, which helps dissipate heat. The iPhone Air is probably not a great choice for you, because it has several drawbacks such as no ultrawide or telephoto camera, as well as less battery life than other iPhone models. However, it is the thinnest iPhone ever, making it the only real reason anyone would want it. If you're buying your iPhone elsewhere, you have a greater variety of models to choose from. However, I would not recommend buying any of the iPhone 14 models now, because you're just one generation away from having a USB-C port. The only reason to get an iPhone 14 model at this point is if it's passed down to you, or if you find one at a really good price. Also, if you're an iPhone collector and you come across a 14 Pro or 14 Pro Max that is still running iOS 16, it's likely worth getting one, because it's the original iOS for it, and it's quite difficult to find a 14 Pro or 14 Pro Max that's still on iOS 16 now in 2026. And also, it's really cool having a dynamic island device on iOS 16. The iPhone 15 Pro or 15 Pro Max are great buys now. You get support for Apple Intelligence. You get USB-C with Thunderbolt transfer speeds support. However, just note that the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are known for getting hotter than the average iPhone model. If you want a similar Pro model device with less heating, get a 16 Pro or 16 Pro Max, which are also great buys. On a tight budget, consider the iPhone 12 Pro, the 13, or the 13 Pro. The iPhone 12 Pro and normal 13 are quite similar to each other. However, there are a few differences between these two devices. The 12 Pro comes with a telephoto camera, a more premium build quality or material, and has the A14 chip with 6 gigabytes of RAM, while the 13 will have probably a longer battery life. The notch is smaller. It comes with the A15 chip, but only 4 gigabytes of RAM instead of 6 gigabytes. That said, these two devices will likely have similar performance, because while the 12 Pro has a slightly older processor, it has more RAM. The 12 Pro has 6 gigabytes of RAM, while the regular 13 has just 4 gigabytes of RAM. If you're considering the 13 Pro or 13 Pro Max, these are the cheapest iPhones you can get with a 120Hz display, as well as a 3 times telephoto camera. The 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max also have relatively decent battery life compared to other older iPhone models. The standard iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are also decent buys now. Consider getting one if you were thinking about getting an iPhone 14, which is, as I said, a poor choice now because you're just one generation shy of the USB-C port. The iPhone 15 also comes with a dynamic island and a 2 times optical zoom camera. However, you don't get Apple Intelligence support with the regular iPhone 15, but Apple Intelligence has little use right now and will be a while before it becomes a major feature. As for iPhone models you shouldn't buy, well, I already mentioned that the iPhone 14 models aren't really good buys right now, but for other iPhone models you shouldn't buy, let's start off with the regular iPhone 12. This one is not a good buy anymore because the battery life is quite poor on it, and many iPhone 12s have a measly 64 gigabytes of storage, although they also exist with 128 or 256 gigabytes. The iPhone 11, 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, and SE second generation are also not recommended to buy now because iOS 26 is likely the last iOS ever released for them in terms of major iOS versions. And these devices even lack 5G support. If you absolutely must have an iPhone with a home button, get the SE third generation. Similarly, if you must have a fairly modern iPhone in a small size, get a 13 mini. Do not get a 12 mini due to its atrocious battery life. And lastly, do not buy an iPhone XR, XS, or older if you're going to be using it as a main device, because there are absolutely no more new iOS updates available to them. And lastly, if you're collecting iPhones, pretty much any iPhone model from any generation, if it's still on its original iOS version, are the most desirable to have for iPhone collectors. Thanks for watching.